All right, thank you everyone so much for their patience. I'm so sorry about the delay. Right before I was supposed to hit the start button, my internet disappeared. So I had to restart that. And now that is fixed and I am on the air. So we are going to start, as promised in my tip, by talking about how you can set a default craft for your advanced searches. So let me share my screen. All right, here we go. So here is my Ravelry window. So from the home page, I can click on patterns. And once I'm there, there's this personalize section where I can select knit or crochet, I can select crochet, or I can select knitting. And if I select, let's say, crochet here, when I go into the pattern browser and advanced search, it defaults to having crochet on. So if you are someone who only knits or only crochets, you can set that personalization setting for yourself, and then you will only see the kinds of things that you like to make. So I'm ready to open this up for questions. If anyone has any, please go ahead and type them in the live chat area. Okay, while we are waiting, I will see what other fun things I can point out. So you can, one thing that maybe people don't know about the advanced searches is the default is and. If I click this, it'll, or excuse me, the default is or. If I click this, it will say knitting, crochet, or knitting. But you can change it, and you can exclude all of these. Say I don't want crochet and I don't want knitting. Or you can do something more advanced. You can say I want yes crochet and not knitting. It doesn't make a lot of, that's not so impressive for things like the craft where like you can't be, a pattern cannot be both crochet and knit. We don't have that capability. But for things like clothing, I can say, oops, let's do sweater, cardigan, pullover, and then when I go into these advanced settings, I can say I want a cardigan and not pullover. I only want cardigan sweaters. I don't want anything that has been marked as a pullover. Some things could be classified as a cardigan and a pullover if they have both options. So this will actually remove some things from the results. We can see right now there's 40,802. And if I change that to an or, there's 94,600. So a whole bunch are excluded. Do we have any questions from our live audience? All right, I'm going to keep hoping somebody jumps in soon. But let's see what other fun search tips I have for you. So just kind of looking, these attributes, like I don't use these enough, but these have so much information in them and are such a great way to narrow down your search. You can choose by not just that it has color work, but it has a specific type of color work. You can look for patterns with all sorts of details about construction. If you're someone who, you know, does not like seamless garments or only knits seamless garments, you have that option. If you only want to crochet lace, you can only look at crocheted lace, etc. You can look for patterns that are designed for any gauge. We have quite a few of those. colors used. We'll show you the typical number of colors used. So this is great if you know you have a couple of skeins of something and you want to get ideas for how to use it up. Because when you choose color work here and choose stranded, there are going to be lots of things that still only include a couple of colors. If you have a cool gradient kit that you wanted to use up, maybe you want things that use a lot of colors. This is my idea of eye candy. This looks really beautiful to me. I'm still hoping somebody will jump in and ask a question. So if you have one, don't be shy. You can interrupt me and start typing in that live chat box. I'm looking, keeping an eye on it while I talk. All right, we will clear those things. See what else we can find in here. Okay, Raina Thompson has said, I've encountered this question from Ravelers. If they don't want to see machine knitting and loom knitting, or they only want to see one of them, how does personalization work for them? So we don't have the personalization option for machine knitting or loom knitting. You have the option of, you can come to the advanced search and change it to machine knitting and loom knitting every time you get here. You could also create a saved search. So if I only want to see loom knitting patterns, I can set this up and then I can say save search. And I might call this my default. If this is what I want to see every time I come to the search, I will save this search as default. And then, you know, someday I am looking at yarns and then I decide, oh, I want to do a search. I can go to this magnifying glass and here are saved searches and I click on default and it takes me right back to this search for loom knitting. And if I always get to the search this way, it will always be customized the way I want. So this is a way to customize for a craft that isn't on that personalization page, or do any other kind of personalization you might want about your search. I know lots of people have really specific things they know they're looking for, so you can set those up for yourself. It's called a saved search, and they will always be, click on this magnifying glass, they hang out here, and then you can edit them, make changes to them. Thank you very much for that question, Raina. That was a great question, and saved searches are a great thing to cover. Do we have any other questions? Even if you just have like a different section of the site you want me to talk about, if you don't have a specific question, but you just want to see me work through a different part of the site, I'd be happy to do that. Raina says she just wanted to make sure that was covered for future watchers. Thanks. Thank you, Raina. That was a great thing to talk about. I'm going to keep going in search because I think this is something we get a lot of questions about. But again, please do interrupt me. So you can search by the type of source. You can look for just books, just magazines, ebooks. You can search by yardage or meterage, whichever unit seems natural to you. And search by language. We have a whole bunch of languages in here. You can search by your own notebook, search for patterns that are in your favorites, in your library, in your projects, in your queue, by your favorite designers that are written for a yarn that you have in your stash or just that you've looked at recently. You can search by hook size. You can search for the fiber content of the suggested yarns. Needle size. Rating, difficulty. Rating are ratings from users. Difficulty is also from users. I'm curious to see what people say is impossible. There's a whole bunch of cute, apparently very difficult patterns in here. You can search by whether the designer is on Ravelry or not. There's a whole bunch more. You can do comparing. We can talk about comparing. I don't have anything in compare right now. So if you're maybe comparing a couple of different patterns, you're not sure which one you're going to use, I'm clicking this little arrow underneath the pattern. I can say remember and compare, and remember and compare, remember and compare. And I can click on this star, or I can click on that compare filter we saw below. And it just shows these three. And I can go away, I can look at yarns. And then when I come back to pattern search, it's still there. Even though all these other things are coming out, the things that I'm comparing are still there. And I can hit this clear to clear those. Are you sure you want to clear your remembered patterns? And I do. Okay, I see a new question from QLD Teacher. Could you give me some advice as to how to find a sweater pattern that would be good for my first sweater project for me? I'm knitting tin can knits flax baby size. I would like a V-neck sweater. That is a great question. That is a great example. So she says she's knitting a sweater right now, so I'm going to assume that she also wants a sweater pattern to knit. So first thing I'm going to do, and this is also a great way to do this really fast. If you prefer typing to clicking like I do, I'm just going to start typing knitting. And these attributes pop up, and I'm going to say, yes, I want the craft of knitting. Okay, I'm going to start typing V-neck, V-neck, neck. Okay, I see ballet neck, boat neck, crew neck, funnel neck, keyhole, scoop, square, sweetheart, and turtle. Is that it? V may just not have shown up. So I'm going to go to construction, design elements, neck. There it is, V-neck at the bottom. Okay, and then we also know we can remove neck. Oops, and then we also know she's looking for a sweater. Okay, so we have 11,000 matches. And from here, narrowing it down kind of depends on what you like. If you already have some yarn in your stash, and you know that you have some worsted weight yarn in your stash, then my next step would be to narrow it down by the weight of the yarn. If you don't have yarn, if you just want to pick something you're inspired by, right now it's sorted by best match. I could change the sort to be by hot right now. And this is kind of the patterns people are looking at right now. I can look through this and see if anything catches my eye. And then you definitely can use some of these other options like favorited by. You can look for things that your friends have favorited. You can look for things that are new. You can look for things based on difficulty. There are a lot of different ways to sort once you get to these 11,000 sweaters. And that is kind of the joy of figuring out how do you want to drill down through this information. Okay, she says, I've only been knitting for a year, so I don't want anything too difficult. Then maybe I would, difficulty. Maybe I would do a difficulty of 1. And here it's narrowed way down to 279 matches. Some other ways that we could narrow it down, we could do pullover. We could do adult. And then there are a ton of, you can do woman. Is it women? Under gender, age, okay, gender, female it's called. So there are a lot of ways that you can keep narrowing it down. All right, she says you just answered my question. Thank you very much. You're welcome. Mary Lou Ganser, I see, has asked, how do you delete a project from your project list if you decide you don't want to have it in your project list? Okay, so I'm going to go to my notebook, and then I'm going to go to projects. And then Doesn't look like I have any that have no data, so we'll actually add a project and then delete it. So it's a crochet project, live Q&A. I didn't use a pattern. Then I'll just save it. So then I go back to my projects, and I need to make sure that I am in this small thumbnail view or in this list view. From either one, in the list view, there's this X. In the small thumbnail view, there's this drop down to delete this project. If you're on the big thumbnail view, then you don't see the delete option. So you have to make sure that you get to the small thumbnail view, and you can use this drop down and hit delete this project. Are you sure you want to delete this permanently? Yes. And it is permanent. We do not keep a backup copy. So make sure you're only deleting projects that you're really sure you're ready to delete. So I hope that answered your question, Mary Lou. And do we have any other questions? I started a little late, so I can go for a few more minutes if there are any other questions. But if not, we can wrap this up. Just going to give it a minute because there's a delay. Okay, then I think we're going to wrap this up. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us and to everyone who asked us questions. I hope that everyone enjoys these Q&As, and if people like them, we can keep doing them. And if you prefer written tips, that is okay to let us know, because we can do more of those. I hope everybody has a good night, and we will talk to you later. Bye.